This graph shows a monopolistic competitor in the long run. We can see that price is equal to average total cost. The reason for this is that in a monopolistically competitive market, if firms are making profit, new firms enter, and the demand curve shifts to the left. Similarly, if firms are making losses, old firms exit, and the demand curve shifts to the right. Because of these shifts in demand, a monopolistically competitive firm eventually finds itself in the long-run equilibrium, shown right here. Also, in the long-run equilibrium, a firm is earning zero profit. Now we're going to discuss the long-run equilibrium in a monopolistically competitive market and a perfectly competitive market. In a monopolistically competitive market, as you can see, they produce at less than the efficient scale, which causes this excess capacity. Here we have a price markup because price is greater than marginal cost. In perfect competition, we have quantity produced equaling the efficient scale, so there's no excess capacity, and price equaling marginal cost. Monopolistic competitors, like monopolists, maximize their profits by producing at the quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. The firm in panel A makes a profit. So we have the marginal cost curve crossing the marginal revenue curve, and this is the profit maximizing quantity. Then we go up to the demand curve and we find the price, and we have price is greater than average total cost. So that means that we are making a profit in the black shaded area. Next, we have a firm making a loss in a monopolistically competitive market. We have the marginal cost curve crossing the marginal revenue curve, and this is the loss minimizing quantity. Then we go up to the demand curve to get the price. And this area of shaded black is the losses that the firm makes because price is less than average total cost. Next, we have monopolistic competition. There are three key attributes to monopolistic competition. First, we have many firms. Next, we have differentiated products. And third, we have free entry. The equilibrium differs from a perfectly competitive market in two ways. First, a monopolistically competitive market has excess capacity. All this means is that it operates on the downward sloping portion of the average total cost curve. Next, each firm charges a price above marginal cost. The product differentiation in monopolistic competition leads to the use of advertising and brand names. Some critics of advertising and brand names argue that they take advantage of consumer irrationality. Critics may also argue that advertising and brand names reduce competition. Conversely, defenders of advertising and brand names argue that firms use them to inform consumers, about their product, and also to compete more vigorously on price and product equality.
A firm is a monopoly if it is the sole seller of its product and if its product does not have close substitutes. The fundamental cause of monopoly is barriers to enter. A monopoly remains the only seller in its market because other firms cannot enter the market and compete with it. Barriers to entry, in turn, have three main sources. A key resource is owned by a single firm. The government gives a single firm the exclusive right to produce some good or service. The cost of production make a single producer more efficient than large number of producers. The key difference between a competitive firm and a monopoly is a monopoly's ability to influence the price of its output. A competitive firm is small relative to the market in which it operates and therefore has no power to influence the price of its output. It takes the price as given by market conditions. By contrast, because a monopoly is the sole producer in its market, it can alter the price of its good by adjusting the quantity it supplies to the market. This figure shows the monopoly's profit. The area of the box, BCDE, equals the profit of the monopoly firm. The height of the box, BC, is price minus average total cost, which equals profit per unit sold. The width of the box, DC, is the number of units sold. In conclusion, a crucial result is that monopolists produce less than the socially efficient quantity and charge prices above marginal cost. As a result, they cause deadweight losses. In some cases, these inefficiencies can be mitigated through the price discrimination by the monopolists, but other times they call for policymakers to take an active role.
So this graph shows profit maximization for a competitive firm. The profit maximizing quantity is here, where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, which is also the price. So when you draw a line down, this is your Q max. And when you go over on the average revenue, marginal revenue, and price line, you see here, which is P, the profit maximizing cost. Next, we're going to discuss the firm's decision to shut down in the short run. But first, to understand why they shut down, we should first understand what a sunk cost is. A sunk cost is a cost that has already been committed and cannot be recovered. For example, this means if you've already bought land in order to produce crops, the land would be a sunk cost because you've already bought it, and whether you use it to produce crops or not, you've already paid that price. Now that we understand what a sunk cost is, we can determine whether a firm should shut down or not. So, one thing to understand, that since you've already paid the sunk cost, you don't have to consider that anymore. It's sunk, it's lost, you're not getting it back. So the one thing you should understand is that you have to look at variable costs. Variable costs include if it's a gas station, the worker you're hiring to pay for the lights, whether the cost of keeping the place open is worth it or not. So that means shut down if the total revenue is less than the variable cost. For example, if you're paying the worker $40 to work that night, but you only make $30, that is your total revenue and is not worth keeping open. Because if a firm shuts down by total revenue is less than variable cost, you can divide both sides of this inequality by the quantity Q. So you can write it as total revenue divided by quantity is less than variable cost divided by quantity, which is also known as average revenue. And when we looked at the previous graph, average revenue also equals price. So therefore, if you're dividing both by quantity, you can write the statement as P is less than AVC, which is average variable cost. So that's when a firm can also shut down, is when the price you're selling the product for is less than the variable cost that it costs to make it. That is when you need to shut down. Now we're going to discuss the firm's long-run decision to exit or to enter a market. So, the firm exits a market if the revenue it would get from producing is less than its total cost. So we can make this criterion more useful by writing it mathematically. If TR stands for total revenue and TC stands for total cost, then the firm's exit criterion can be written as exit if TR is less than total cost, which means the money you're making for the product is less than it costs you to make that product. It can also be written as exit if price is less than total cost, because the total revenue curve is the marginal revenue curve, the average revenue curve, and the price curve. So those can be written as the same thing. On the other hand, a firm will enter the market if such an action would be profitable, which occurs if the price of the good exceeds the average total cost of production. Thus, the entry criterion is enter if price is greater than average total cost, which means if you're making more for the product you're selling then the average total cost, like the fixed cost, the variable cost, those costs to make it, then you should enter the market because you would be gaining a profit. These two graphs represent profit as the area between price and average total cost. So the area of the shaded box between the price and average total cost represents the firm's profit, seen here. The height of this box is the price minus average total cost, P minus ATC, and the width of the box is the quantity of output, Q. In panel A, which shows the profits, price is above average total cost, so the firm has a positive profit, which is seen here in this yellow shaded region. In panel B, which is the losses graph, you can see that price is less than average total cost, so the firm has losses, which is equal to this yellow shaded region here.